Okay, so I'm glad you caught me. Sometimes you'll hear some noise in the background because we're in the mall here in Hawaii, with on vacation here. So that's who I'm with, my wife, Anna.
Hi.
Mariecia says hello.
Hi.
You can't see you. You guys could see each other a little bit though. But I know I'm excited to get a chance to sit down and talk with you here. Obviously, this is Obom Bowen, aka the international best-selling author of Passion 365 and all things relationship. And I'm really being interviewed today by the amazing Mariecia Miller. Hey, girl.
Hi. All
So
right.
go ahead. I know you had a few questions you wanted to ask. I'm super excited to see what those are and answer them for you.
Yes. So, I have some questions about success and like how you're defining it and everything. So, my first question is, how would you define success? Like, what does success mean to you?
Well, how do I define success? Well, actually, in my first book, The Philosophy of Success, I actually talked about what that does for everyone else. And the average person really considers themselves, in some sense, a failure because they haven't defined what success looks like for them. So when they define what success is, that's the only way they can actually achieve it. So success for me, it really is the progression of a worthy ideal. So whatever that worthy ideal is for an individual and the progressive realization of it in a sense. So maybe you think success for you, and I'm not just saying you, but the average person could be a financial goal of success. And, they wanted to become a millionaire. And, for us before becoming one, that was my goal. And what I realized, it wasn't just necessarily becoming a millionaire, but what I became in the process of doing so. So the progression of that worthy idea was, what happens when you become, part of the top 1% of income earners in the world. It wasn't necessarily for the money, it's the person we became in the process. For I know part of our story, but for most people who don't, we were homeless for 5 years living out of a car. How do we move from there in a space of about 3.5 years to not making any income to multiple 7-figure businesses? It was all because we set a goal for ourselves, 5 years, what we wanted that to look like. So that was success for us. We defined, being able to live in a home that we have in Atlanta that we had paid for and don't have any payments on, having at least two different cars, which we do now, being able to travel the world, which we do all the time as we're here for the next, 55 days in Hawaii, just kind of relaxing, having fun. We defined what that looked like. So that was it for us, and it is different for everyone else. That's a great question, by the way.
Thank you. I know. I like that one. All right. So, with that being said, what are some of like your most rewarding moments that you've had throughout your journey of success and like that led you to where you are today and everything?
Okay. Well, some of the most rewarding ones, I'm going to give you like three big ones right now that's just popped into my head. The first one was becoming a father for the first time. That was really defining my life because every person, I believe, or at least in my head, becoming a parent is one of the most pinnacle things in life, where you get a chance now to really put back into society what you've gotten out of it in the form of a child and teach them in the ways that they need, to get things done. And today we have our 16 and 18-year-old daughters, which are just, besides being beautiful, they're amazing, intelligent girls. And that gave us the chance to really help them. But I remember the day becoming a father for the first time with my oldest daughter. It was the most magical thing. The second one was actually about 24 years ago, graduating from Marine Corps boot camp, becoming a United States Marine, obviously believing I could walk on water. And then I got to the pool and realized I will sink when, when that happens. And one of the largest ones was really becoming completely financially free, earning, in excess multiple 6-figure businesses and incomes into a 7-figure business and income, and really just being able to do whatever I wanted to do with whomever and whenever I chose to. And today, which has been kind of my message for the last 5 years, with my new book that's coming out in January, Today's the Day, I focus a lot on the best day of my life, which is always today, because the only time that matters truly is today. Yesterday is the past, tomorrow is the future, but it's not promised to anyone. So the best time to do anything and decide, which is why we're actually here right now doing this interview, is to do it right now. You know, don't wait, don't procrastinate, don't wait for next week. Today's the day. The only time that matters is now. And 10 seconds from now, I don't know if I'm going to drop this phone and I'm going to die in 10 seconds, right? But while I'm here, I'm making use of the time, and I always live today as if it was my last. Because for you, as you move into the future, and you want to kind of get and understand a bit of my philosophy, maybe it might help you. That's why I agreed to do this interview as fast as possible. So the biggest thing right now for me with those three is really focusing on today and what I'm going to do in the next 10, 15, 20 seconds or the next hour to contribute into tomorrow.
Yes. How did you come up with that philosophy of like focusing on the now? Like, is that something you've always known, or like, is it a new concept for you, or something that
well, it's fairly new, and new as in within the last 15 years, I would say, right? So when you were, I would say 4 years old, I came up with that philosophy.
Oh, wow.
But how I came up with that was the last time I was actually injured in Iraq. And I don't know how much of that story you know, but I was blown up and paralyzed from the waist down in a wheelchair for 9 months, couldn't walk, couldn't talk. I actually flatline died 3 separate times. So after going through that experiences, there was a lot of things initially that I regretted in my life I wanted to do. And I decided that, you know, from that moment on, I'm going to play all out. I'm going to go 100% in everything that I do on a daily basis. I wanted, you know, then I started connecting more with my daughters. I started spending more time with my wife. Like, this is important for me as we're going to look. She's eating, enjoying herself, right? That's her favorite thing, right? So, you know, I wanted to just capture the essence of life on a daily basis, 100%. And the philosophy my wife and I came up with, like, together about 7 years ago was, we're going to live each day as if it was our last. So right now, today, we have no regrets. We live every day that way. I know some people think it might be a little too morbid, but if I were to pass on today, I know that I've contributed and given to the world everything that I can. And again, that's why I'm here. That philosophy ingrains in everything that I do. And I can hear the train coming up here in the mall a little bit. So let's, before you ask your next question, when it passes, I'll show you. That way, it doesn't take up all the audio space in here and kill your next question. So enjoy my view. Look at this. Right? Enjoy today. Check out the train. Ride it with us. Right?
I know. I'm just going to go on it.
I know. You can visually jump on the train. You might not be on there physically, but it's going to pass back in a bit. Look at Anna take a few bites. Say hi, honey.
Hi.
All right, so let's go with the next question.
Okay, so the next question, I mean, I know you've experienced things that you've had to overcome, but do you think that any of the difficulties that you've faced have, like, helped you, like, come to where you are today? Like, what were the most difficult ones to get over or overcome?
Absolutely. So there's a phraseology that I use a lot. Obviously, in my faith as a Christian, so I use a lot of, you know, Christian analogies. And I say at every level, there's a different devil. All that means is, for every level of life or success you're going to, there's always going to be another challenge and a bigger one for you. So one of my greater challenge, and let me not try to give the answer while the train passes again. I'll just have you enjoy the view of the train. So it goes, look at that, choo-choo. Those kids are having a great time, by the way. And now for our 10-second commercial eating break. There you go. All right, so the biggest thing really when you focus on the challenges. So for example, one of the largest challenges I had was, you know, when I came back from Iraq, I had a severe brain injury, you know, the PTSD, the trauma. I was depressed for 2 years. I was actually had suicide ideational thoughts for 2 years. I tried to take my own life. The reason I didn't was, you know, my daughters were the lamppost for me to really just if I were to take my life, I needed for them to be financially set. And for me, my belief was, God found all kinds of creative ways for me to not do that. The other one was, for my first marriage, it ended in divorce, and then that's what kind of held me to a downward spiral, living out of my car, and to the depression, all that stuff. But all those things helped me to be the person I am today. Very relentless, very passionate. I'll always follow. Once I set a goal, there is no other option other than accomplishing that goal. And I say I have what's called the ant philosophy. I'll either go around it, go through it, go under it. Whatever I have to do, it's going to get done. I'm either going to do it or die trying. There is no ifs, ands, or buts around it. And, for some people, there's always a plan B. I don't have a plan B. I only have a plan A. For me, plan B only detracts from plan A. So I don't have plan Bs.
I remember that. All right. So, did you visualize your success?
I did. And for us as human beings, so we're born, and here's my 50 cents word for today. We are all seeking, right? So we're born and we are teleological beings, which means that we're goal seeking, and we've been given vision. We're the only living species that can actually function and visualize something to basically project into the future what we want and then work towards that, which goes back to your first question, right? What is success? Is the progression of a worthy ideal. Well, that worthy ideal is visualizing how you want your life to be and then working towards it. And if you have what I call the ant philosophy, then you don't falter. You don't go to the left. You don't go to the right. You stay the course. You stay focused. And I'll slow down here because I use the acronym FOCUS, which, the word itself, FOCUS, for me means follow one course until successful. So there's no way to really go on anything else once you set the goal. Once I set the goal, it's already accomplished. It's just a matter of time until the physical attributes of it shows up, which is the reason why, we have, vision boards. My wife and I, buying our first home, we kind of put up, we made a vision board. We put up homes or parts of different homes that we saw and what we wanted it to be. And we kept that because the brain thinks in pictures. And when it sees the pictures, it helps your subconscious mind to know and understand what it is you're looking for, because we operate like a servo mechanism looking for something. And once we understand that we're teleological, we have the goal in front of us. It's like the horse and the carrot, and you keep following until it happens. Here comes the train again. I'm actually excited for these little commercial breaks because it gives us the time to just have some fun in this interview.
And Anna's repping she's advertising this company right now with her drinks and the food.
Right? And you don't get to see that I'm actually taking Anna's juice and drinking it right now. Oh, carrot juice. Wow, that's good.
Orange and melon.
Oh, orange and melon and ginger tasted a little like carrot juice. I know it sounds good, don't it?
Oh, sounds so good.
Look, it's fresh made here in Hawaii. This stuff is like so good. They just squeezed it, she says.
I gotta go to Hawaii.
I know.
It's so good.
You want to come back with us later on, early next year?
Possibly.
Well, let's make it a goal.
Okay.
How about that?
Okay.
All right, so the train, I didn't hear it pass back, but either ways, it's coming again. Let us continue with the question, and if the train comes, I will hold the answer so we're not audibly blocked out.
Gotcha. All right.
Well, here it comes. Sorry, train action. All right, and back to our commercial break. She's finished eating. And okay, so let's take your question.
Okay, so my next question is, what philosophy or mantra do you live your life by? I know we kind of talked about some, but.
Okay, well, my philosophy I live by is, like I shared earlier, live each day as if it was your last. I mean, if you knew that today was your last day and you have the ability to do anything you wanted to do, that you could do, in one day, 24 hours, what would you do? So many people waste the 24 hours of their days. And, you know, my mantra, our way of living, what we do, my days are separated into 3 different sections. And the first section of my day or my routine, the things that we do is my wife and I get up early in the morning and we work out together, we spend time together. And that for us, normally we'll get up around 7, 8 in the morning, and we'll spend between 4 to 5 hours together working out, having breakfast, eating, talking, planning, how we're going to execute the day. And me personally, I work from basically 12 to 7, right? So from 12 noon to about 7 p.m., I'll work, and at 7:01 we're done, because most of the work we're doing is from home or wherever we are. And then from 7 to midnight again, it's just my wife and I, or if we're visiting with friends or family or spending time with the kids or what have you. Or I may have some mindless time and just watch a few television shows or something to wind down from the day. But within those, you know, those hours from 12 to 7, I am single-mindedly focused on what the task is for the day. For example, you know, unscheduled calls I don't answer. Appointments that weren't set are not attend to, because whatever the task is for the day, that's exactly what I'm doing, and that's only what I'm doing for that day. Because just like a servo mechanism or a missile, my mind is set on that path to accomplishing what needs to be accomplished for that day. So our mantra really is live each day as if it was your last, and whatever you have assigned for that day, that's what you do.
Gotcha. Good answer.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad I asked.
I'm just kidding. I liked it. Okay, so what strengths of yours do you think led you to where you are today?
Gosh, my strengths. So there's 3 of them. The power of effectively communicating. One of the things I was very good at as a child is communicating, you know, concisely and clearly my point. It always helped me as a child to get exactly what I wanted. To my parents, there was no beating around the bush. If I wanted candy, I would sell them on why I wanted candy. I wanted a candy. It's not just because it's going to mess up my teeth, because I'm going to brush and floss, Mom. And they they knew, okay, it's not so bad. I told them I wanted the candy because, you know how candy gives you a lot of energy? It's going to give me a chance to go do my workout pretty good. I sold them on that. My second one was that I was very consistent and persistent. When I set my mind to something, there is no quitting. There is no like, oh, I don't want to get up this morning to do whatever. So, and the third is really being able to utilize the function of vision. I can clearly see in my mind's eye, whatever I set in front of me, it doesn't matter if it's a 5, 10, 15, or 20-year goal, how to actually reverse engineer and work towards that on a daily basis consistently to get exactly, you know, what it is that, you know, we're seeking. And my wife and I are on this 10-year goal that we've been working on right now, which came out from sitting down in the car when we were, you know, living in the car almost 8 to 10 years ago, to moving 5 years later, which was about 3 years ago, where the majority of our wealth was created. And, you know, now publishing 3 books that have combined sold over 257,000 copies of those books. It was clearly seeing that vision, marketing, and doing all the things that we need to get there. So those are my top 3 strengths and how I use them continuously. And the biggest part is really being able to use those to teach people through my businesses and retreats and courses that we do, how to actually maximize their skill sets, become a powerhouse in their own right with their own vision, and be able to profit from that when they create businesses.
Wow. I liked your skills there.
Well, thank you, my dear.
All right. So what made you want to do like what you want to do? Like, was there like a turning point where you're like, this is what I want to do, or have you always known?
I kind of always knew a little bit, and that's, you know, I knew what my passion and vision was. For a while, I really didn't know how to get to it. But I had clear in my mind what the picture was, which is always very key and important. But the turning point in my life was, as I said, from my first marriage, the hurt, the pain, and things that I experienced, that really was the precipice of getting me to the next level. Because I didn't want other people to go through what I went through. And I needed to find a way to kind of share that message with others. And I've always been an entrepreneur. As long as I know, I was the guy that found a penny on the beach, shined it up, poked a hole in the middle, put it on a string, and sell it for $5. Okay, so what I had to do then is I knew I wanted to get my message to the world about becoming successful. So what I did is I said, okay, this is what I want to do. I'm going to go become successful myself. Then I'm going to go write a book about it, which, led me to writing my very first book called The Philosophy of Success. And I wanted people to know and understand that you cannot become successful unless you first learn to think that way, because our thoughts lead to our, what we say, and what we say relate to what we do. And what we do consistently over time creates the results. So by learning that, then I said my true message was really all about relationships. So when my wife and I got married, and we've been married happily now, it's been over a decade of us being together. We've attended at a minimum 4 relationship retreats ourselves every year. Now for 10 years, that's over 40 different retreats. It gave us a chance to really understand, craft our message together, and put together our first retreat about 4.5 years ago. And, about 128 retreats later now, I finally published our first relationship book called Passion 365, how to take, a single individual to help them manifest and attract their perfect mate and partner. And then when they do get married, how they can have 365 honeymoons a year, in a sense. So that's been how we've been able to really craft that message going. And then as of recently, to get out the most powerful message is living each day as if it was your last. And that's where Today's the Day was birthed, and that's where that come from. So now our entire movement you can find from today'sthedaybook.com, that tells about everything else. It shows all our books, all that in there. So that's how that all came together and crafted itself simply well.
I like how you, it seems like you really do use your philosophy and mantra in every area, because you keep bringing it up and everything.
Right. It's been morphing. So, that methodology of simply doing things have been growing with everything we've done. And we've really been taking all of our experiences. When I say we, I'm referring to my wife, Anna. We've really taken our experiences in life, relationship, and business, and really focus on putting it together to help the next generation, because everything we do is mainly for our kids. All those books were instructional manuals in a sense for my children, but as an entrepreneur, I said, why should I be able to financially benefit from this that I'm going to give to my kids, and why can't other people benefit too? So, put those two together, have the average person benefit from that, and it can make you some income. Hey, why not do it?
Good point. So my next one is, do you have any daily well, I know we talked about daily mantras and stuff, but is there anything that you do, any daily rituals that helped you along the way?
Well, I do. Every successful person do. And everyone does, successful or not. The difference is the successful people are very conscious of their rituals, and the not so successful people are very unconscious of it, because we function on 2 different levels, a conscious and a subconscious level. And the subconscious level, you can actually go to today'sthedaybook.com, and the video there will tell you about where we have most people walking around in what I call mindless efficiency. So they're functioning on a subconscious level, about 80 to 90% of what they're doing, not really thinking about it. They're functioning on the same thoughts and patterns from yesterday and being retroactive. So they're responding instead of actually being proactive. So the proactive thoughts and rituals my wife and I have in practice on a daily basis is, every single day we have to have 3 things first thing in the morning. First is physical exercise and activity. And when we're doing that, we're always listening to books on audio to kind of get our minds right to the next level. We always spend a lot of quality time together. So that's already filling, in a sense, the love boat for us. But one of my most important rituals is really, it comes before, say today when I get done, I plan tomorrow before tomorrow begins. So I'm never going into a day without knowing what that day is like. Because if you don't have those goals set on what you're going to do that day, then the distractions come in and everything else show up. So I live every day as if it was my last. Every hour is a power hour, and I give value as much as I can to everyone that, that I can. That's why, with the interview here, I wanted to give you 100% of my time and attention, even though we're here in the mall having a good time. But it's really just setting aside that time and not really caring about, in a sense, what anyone else might think or see or believe. We all have our own beliefs. I have mine. It's my life. It's my game. I'm the judge. I'm the referee. I'm the umpire. Why should I be losing the game when I'm setting the rules? Does that make sense?
I like that. Okay. So, I mean, well, do you see yourself as successful?
I see myself, what we all are. Every day that I open my eyes, it's another successful day that I have a chance to change or improve upon myself. And then you can choose whatever categories. For me, there's 5 categories. That's my new book I'm releasing actually next year, called The 5 F's of Life. And I focus on faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun. So obviously, my wife and I, we focus a lot on faith, but our biggest area is fun, right? So the fitness, finance, and family, those fall in between the two, the big parameters of life for us. So that is the focus, and that's how we kind of put all those together.
All right. And so then, with that being said, like, how would you perceive failure?
So, oh man, failure is a part of success. So I tend not to spend too much time on it because most people tend to see failure as something negative. It's not. Failure is just another marker, in a sense, to let you know that you're moving in the right direction. You show me a person who's never failed, and I show you a person who really hasn't truly accomplished anything. Because the failure is just, in a sense, what we see as failure is a reminder of progression. For example, let's start when we were all babies. I mean, how long does it take an average baby to walk? No one really knows. Whenever that baby finally has the confidence in itself to stand up on its own 2 feet and walk, that child will fall down, 100, 600, 1,000 times. It doesn't matter. And they'll get up and get up and get up and get up and get up until they're walking and they're standing upright and they're never falling down and they don't have to crawl anymore. Well, success is the same way. Success is the same in any endeavor, whether it's faith, family, finance, fitness, it's fun, it's relationships, it's money, you name it, right? So every time a child falls down, in a sense, that's a failure. But that child learns from there, and the next time they learn what not to do. But as we get older, we forget these very basic principles. And guess what happens? We want to avoid the pain, which really isn't the failure that most people are afraid of, right? And fear is what they're really afraid of. Now, here's my definition of fear. Fear is the anticipation of a future pain. Because everything you're doing, you're anticipating a pain coming in the future time. And it could be 10 seconds, 15 seconds from now. For example, if you were going to jump out of an airplane, the first average person will probably think, oh, I'm going to fall to the ground, splat. Ooh, forgetting everything about, you might be jumping out with a parachute. Now, you and I both know we are high adrenaline seekers, and you skydove before and I skydived before, and we know it's like the most amazing, fun thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
97% of people in the world today would say you guys are crazy jumping out of a perfectly good airplane. Now, the reason they'll say that is because they're anticipating the future pain of falling out the plane and hitting flat on the ground. And that is why they perceive that what we might see as success in jumping out of a plane and having fun as failure. And most of it is because they're afraid of anticipating what's happening. Now, here's the deal. One of the things I learned early on is that fear, F-E-A-R, is false evidence appearing real. It's not real. It's in your mind, right? So whatever you perceive, you project, and whatever you project can become a reality. So if you just look at it as like, oh, well, I'm jumping out of a plane, I have a parachute. How many people do you know have died jumping out of a plane with a parachute? Probably not that much or none at all. How many people would probably have died jumping out of an airplane without a parachute? Almost every one of them, depending from how high they jump. So I guess I'll jump out with a parachute.
Way to look at it.
Way to look at it, right?
No, I really though admire that the failure is a part of success. It's a good way to put like a positive spin on it and just,
Yeah, it's us. See, the anticipation is us going internally, and we're only looking at the negative side of something. And there is a what I call a plus entity and a minus entity in everything we do in life. And 90% of everything in today's society is focused on the negative entity. The news, CNN, constant negative news. That's what that stands for in my book. It's always sending a lot of negativity. And if you listen to it and you watch it, it's always on there. Everyone is focused on the negativity. Well, because positive news doesn't sell. If you see a positive story like, oh, it feels good, maybe 10 seconds, no one talks about it. But you talk about someone getting shot or killed or murdered or raped, whatever, that's going to go on for a very long, long time. And that's just instilling more and more fear into people for them to talk more about it. So it really is fear.
yes. I see.
Awesome.
So,
Those are some great questions, by the way. Keep them coming.
I know. I honestly enjoyed figuring out these questions, and I'm getting plenty. I'm like, you're answering more questions too, like. So I like it. So how do you like? Well, I personally consider like part of my success to be like living a balanced life. I don't know if that's something that you would consider, but how do you personally live a balanced life, or do you like? Do you have any advice for that?
Yeah, well, I talk about life balance, and in one of my courses, and you've been to one of our basic courses, you understand like there's never going to be that perfect wheel balance in your life. So, but whatever area in your life is lacking and you focus on, you're going to obviously put 90% of your energy there, which means that 10% of all the other areas are going to get the rest of your attention. So what that gives us is the ability to continuously focus in on improving who we are, our greatness, what areas we're focusing on to make those better. So my philosophy on increasing and improving, though, is I pick an area of my life or business or relationship to focus on basically every month. So there's 12 major areas that I focus on, starting with health, relationship, with business, with family, with finance, with every area in those focus. And every month I focus on one. And by the end of the year, I'm well-rounded again. But starting the new year, guess what? Another area needs focus. So there's always going to be a constant, never-ending room of improvement in a sense. And that's why there's no such thing as you're ever going to find that wheel perfectly balanced. Because when you do, you're just kind of settling. And in life, we're either growing or declining.
I hear that one a lot. It's so true, though. Very true.
Yeah, we're either growing. Everything in nature is the same. Grass is either growing or it's dying. It's either green or brown. And if it's brown, it's dying. When you water it, then it becomes green. Same thing with your life, with your philosophy. How do you water your philosophy? I don't know, read good books. Read 10 pages of a good book a day. Over, the course of a month, the average book, if you read 10 pages of it, that's about 310 pages. The average book is about 285 or 300 page. You can read 12 books a year. Sadly enough, the average American student today, graduating from high school, does not pick up another book, especially a self-improvement book, unless they have to for business, for job, or anything like that. So the continuous education of educating ourselves, right? The word educate comes from educo. It's a Greek word, and all about it's the constant self-improvement of oneself.
I like it. All right, well, that wraps up all the questions I have. I don't know if there's anything else that you would like to share or add.
Awesome. Well, if that's all the questions, I had fun sharing and with you today. And if there's anything else, always reach back out. I hope this helps your project to where, in fact, I don't hope it helps. I know it will. It just all depends on, are you going to get an A+ or just an A++? So we'll see what your professor says.
I would love an A++.
A++s are always good. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure, Mariecia. I look forward. I'm going to end the recording, and then once I get it all done here, I'll send it over to you so you can use for your projects. Well, it's been a great time. Happy Friday to you, my friend. Aloha from Hawaii. And
Aloha.
talk again soon.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sweetie. Bye-bye.